your ancestors could have snapped you in half. Not because they were monsters, not because they were some superhuman species from a comic book, but because their daily lives demanded a level of physical output that most modern humans will never come close to in their entire lifetime. And the scary part? Their bodies adapted so completely to that demand that their bones, their muscles, their grip strength, their cardiovascular endurance became something that would genuinely shock modern scientists when they study the remains. We are talking about average people, not warriors, not hunters, just regular ancient humans whose baseline physical condition would put today's professional athletes to shame. So what happened? How did we go from that to this? Let's start with something that will genuinely mess with your head. When researchers at Cambridge University studied the leg bones of ancient agricultural humans from Central Europe, they found that the bone density and structure was comparable to modern Olympic athletes, not gym-goers, not weekend runners, actual Olympic athletes. And these were just farmers, ordinary people doing what was simply considered a normal day's work. Their bones had remodeled themselves from years of constant mechanical loading, walking miles every single day, carrying heavy loads, plowing fields without machines, grinding grain by hand for hours. The skeleton literally reshapes itself in response to stress. And these people were under relentless physical stress from the moment they could walk. Now, go back even further to our hunter-gatherer ancestors, and the numbers become even more wild. Anthropologists estimate that hunter-gatherers regularly covered between 9 and 15 miles on foot per day, not in running shoes with cushioned soles, not on paved paths, but on uneven terrain, often barefoot or in minimal footwear, carrying tools, game, and children. Their foot structure reflected this. Studies of ancient footprints and skeletal remains show significantly more developed foot arches and calf musculature than what we see in modern humans today. And here is something that should make you stop and think. Despite all of this physical output, they were not doing it as exercise. They were doing it. No separation between movement and life. Movement was life. Let's talk about grip strength, because this one is genuinely humbling. A 2017 study published in the Journal of Human Evolution compared the hand bones of ancient Homo sapiens with those of modern humans. The results showed that ancient humans had hand and wrist structures indicating grip strength far beyond what we produce. We are talking about levels that, if measured on modern grip dynamometers, would exceed almost every contemporary human on Earth. This makes complete sense when you understand their daily reality. Climbing trees was not a fitness class, it was sometimes the difference between life and death. Dragging carcasses, processing animal hides, carving tools from stone, building shelters from raw materials with bare hands. Every single task required grip, forearm tension, and whole body engagement that we have completely engineered out of modern existence. And then there is the question of diet and body composition. Ancient humans were not lean because they were counting calories or following an intermittent fasting protocol. They were lean because food had to be earned with physical effort, and the food itself was nutritionally dense in ways that are almost impossible to replicate today. Wild game meat is dramatically lower in fat and higher in omega-3 fatty acids than factory-farmed meat. Wild plants and roots contain significantly higher levels of minerals, polyphenols, and fiber than commercially grown vegetables. Ancient humans were not eating ultra-processed food engineered to override their satiety signals. Every calorie they consumed came with a complete nutritional package, and their bodies used it with extraordinary efficiency. Muscle building, bone density, hormonal regulation, all of it was supported by a food environment that was entirely aligned with what human biology actually needs. Here is where it gets even more interesting. It is not just that ancient humans moved more. They moved differently. Modern exercise, even intense exercise, is still fundamentally unnatural compared to what ancient bodies experienced. When you go to the gym, you perform isolated, repetitive movements for a fixed duration and then stop. Ancient physical life was varied, unpredictable, and continuous. One moment you are in a low crouch tracking an animal, the next you are sprinting, then carrying, then climbing, then throwing, then resting completely. This variation is something exercise scientists now call mixed modal physical activity, and it turns out the human body responds to it in profoundly different ways than it does to structured modern workouts. The muscle fiber recruitment is broader, the hormonal response is more sustained, and the neurological adaptations are deeper. There is also the role of rest and recovery that almost nobody talks about. Ancient humans slept in alignment with natural light cycles. They were not lying in bed staring at blue light screens suppressing their melatonin production at midnight. Studies of modern hunter-gatherer tribes, the closest living proxies we have for ancient humans, show that they fall asleep shortly after sunset and wake naturally with dawn. Their sleep architecture is rich in deep, slow-wave sleep, the phase during which growth hormone is released and muscle tissue is repaired and rebuilt. Poor sleep does not just make you tired. It actively degrades your muscle protein synthesis, elevates cortisol, suppresses testosterone, and makes physical recovery dramatically less efficient. Ancient humans were, without even trying, optimizing their recovery in ways that modern sleep science is only now beginning to fully understand. But here is the question that should be sitting in the back of your mind right now. If ancient humans were so physically superior, why did we change? And the answer is both fascinating and a little uncomfortable. We changed because we could. Every technological advance that reduced physical labor was adopted because it made survival easier. Fire reduced the need to chew tough raw foods, which is why our jaw muscles and facial bone structure gradually reduced in size over generations. Agriculture reduced the need to walk 15 miles a day. Wheels reduced the need to carry heavy loads. Each convenience was a biological trade. We traded physical capacity for cognitive and social complexity. We got cities, art, medicine, science, and technology in exchange for bone density and grip strength. The question is whether we took that trade too far, and whether our bodies are now paying a price that our ancestors never had. The evidence suggests we are. Rates of osteoporosis, metabolic disease, lower back pain, and muscle atrophy are at historic highs in industrialized societies. Children today have measurably weaker hand grip strength than children of the same age just 30 years ago. We are not just weaker than our ancient ancestors, we are weaker than our recent grandparents. And the mechanism behind all of this is something called the mechanobiological threshold, which basically means your skeleton and muscular system require a minimum level of mechanical loading to maintain themselves. Go below that threshold consistently, and the body begins to downgrade. It starts reclaiming resources from structures it no longer sees as necessary. Bones thin, muscles atrophy, connective tissue weakens. The body is ruthlessly efficient and it will not maintain what you are not using, so can you get any of it back? The answer is yes, but probably not in the way you are thinking. It is not about going to the gym 5 days a week. It is about rethinking what your baseline daily life looks like. Walking more, a lot more, on varied terrain when possible. Carrying things. Sitting on the floor instead of a chair so your hips and knees have to work through their full range constantly. Getting outside in natural light in the morning to anchor your circadian rhythm. Eating less engineered food and more whole food that your metabolism actually recognizes. These are not hacks. These are attempts to restore the conditions that ancient human physiology was built for and has been running without for far too long. Your ancient ancestors did not have a fitness routine. They did not need one. Their entire existence was the routine. And somewhere buried inside your biology, in your bones, your muscles, your mitochondria, the blueprint for that kind of body still exists. The question is whether you are willing to give it even a fraction of the signal it was designed to receive.